You are listening to the continuation of the story. You can listen to the previous part via the link in the description below this video. Happy listening. Samuel Blackstone, also known as Robert Hamilton, looked up from his computer and looked at the woman lying on the bed in the hotel room. "We need to watch expenses," he said irritably. "What are you talking about?" Emma Blackstone, aka Lorelei Hamilton, countered. "You said to yourself that we have more than $250,000 in our account." "That's true," he admitted, "but we're burning through money like a drunken sailor on leave. Rooms at Essex House are not cheap. We need to start looking for the next scam. I want to do something before the money starts running out." "You worry too much," she waved him off. "That job in the West 3 years ago brought us quite a lot of money, and I want to continue to enjoy it. Something will turn up, as always." He shook his head. "I think it would be smarter for us to start looking for a victim now, rather than wait until the last minute." "And what do you want me to do? Did you go to Google and type in naive rich single men in New York?" she quipped. "Or maybe you yourself will sign up for the dating service for rich widows and find some lonely old woman dying to marry her. Jokes all you want, but I think we need to start looking through the gossip columns and going to charity balls in search of promising candidates." "Okay," she sighed, "if it calms you down. But I still don't see any reason to rush." He sighed again and returned to his table. 2 days later, Sam stood up from the restaurant table with a dissatisfied groan. "I've overeaten," he complained. "Walk to Essex House." "I don't," Emma said. "It's too far, and I want to catch my show." "Okay," he shrugged. "You take a taxi, and I'll pick you up soon." There were plenty of taxis outside the tavern on the green, and Sam watched her car as it pulled away. The spring air was still cool, and he walked quickly down Central Park West. When he reached Columbus Circle, he noticed an attractive young red-haired woman crossing the street. As she walked in front of him, she tripped and collided with a businessman walking in the opposite direction. She grabbed onto him to keep from falling, and the man supported her, helping her to her feet. At that moment, his wallet slipped onto the sidewalk. Quickly picking it up, the man cast a suspicious glance at the redhead. "Hey, were you trying to steal my wallet?" he snapped. Throwing an angry look at her once again, he hurried away. The woman watched him for a moment longer and then turned into the park. Intrigued, Sam followed her, catching up with her on the cobblestone path. "You need more practice," he remarked, and she turned around, looking at him warily. "What are you talking about? I saw you try to steal that guy's wallet, but you made a couple of mistakes." "What are you, a cop?" He laughed. "No, I'm in this business, just like you." She stared at him with hostility, which gradually gave way to curiosity. After a moment, she stopped and turned to face him. "So what did I do wrong?" His face became serious. "Two things. Clearly, your sleight of hand is poor. Dropping his wallet is a bad idea. And one more thing. You had to have an accomplice to hand over the loot to him in case the victim suspected something." She looked at him with disbelief, but interest awoke in her eyes. "Are you really into this?" He wanted to impress her. "Quite a long time. And not just small matters, but serious scams that last for months." She examined him carefully. "Very interesting. Have you ever worked with a partner?" Now he became careful. "Sometimes." She took the hint. "Okay, thanks for the advice." She started to leave, but then came back. As he watched, she pulled a money clip stuffed with bills from her jacket pocket. "Just so you know, I didn't mean to steal the wallet. I saw him flaunting it in the store. Dropping the wallet was a distraction." He laughed, impressed. "Looks like I underestimated you." He looked at her carefully. "Do you live here? And you?" He nodded. "Very good, you need to be careful." Now she looked at him carefully. "How about exchanging numbers?" "Why do I need this?" She grinned. "You never know. Suddenly you need a partner. Or I may have an offer that may interest you." He hesitated, but she was very attractive. "Okay, why not?" They exchanged numbers, and he noticed that she was using a burner phone. He chuckled to himself. He had the same one. "Okay," she said. "That was unexpected." But who knows, maybe we'll see you again. Won't you tell me your name? She shook her head. Call me Miss Underrated. He laughed. That's right, because of the money clip. This and another reason. She took his wallet out of another jacket pocket and tossed it to him. Definitely underestimated. Damn it, he cursed as she walked away, swaying her hips. How did you like the walk? Emma asked when he opened the door to their room. Funny story, he said, and there was an intonation in his voice that caught her attention. He told her about the meeting, and she reacted with predictable indignation. I can't believe you did this. Even if she's not a cop, she's just a petty thief. He grinned. As far as I remember, you and I also once cleaned our pockets. But this girl is not simple, and she is clearly interested in cooperation. Who knows, maybe she has some leads. Yeah, of course. If she shows up again, she will be asking for bail money. Robert wisely decided to end the conversation there. 2 days later, Emma's prediction turned out to be wrong. Sam's phone notified him of a new message. Are you still open to working with a partner? I have a business that can bring great profit to the right team. Are you interested? Miss Underrated. He showed the message to Emma, and she frowned. I don't like it. We don't know anything about this woman. We don't even know her name. This could be a trap. Yes, but I don't think so. I saw her steal that guy's money clip, and she definitely has some skills. Besides, we ourselves are looking for something suitable. It wouldn't hurt to at least listen. Maybe, but I don't trust her. He grinned. That's why you'll be watching us. She doesn't know you, so you can take a position in advance. If anything seems suspicious, call me. I'll put my phone on vibrate. As soon as I feel the call, I'll immediately leave. She looked at him silently for several seconds. Okay, but if anything goes wrong, be ready to run away. He nodded. Don't worry. Don't forget that we choose the time and place ourselves. Then he pressed the reply button on the phone. Okay, meet me at the fountain near the plaza in 30 minutes. Essex House was only a few minutes' walk away, and Emma went straight there to take up an observation position at the entrance to the park across the road. 10 minutes later, she noticed the redhead come and sit by the fountain. Red, of course, she muttered under her breath, and began to examine the surroundings for suspicious activity. 15 minutes later, Sam appeared. Approaching the woman, he stopped, and she stood up to meet him. I wasn't sure that you'd come, she said. He shrugged. I didn't expect you to write. So what was the matter you wanted to discuss? She sat down again, and he joined her. There is one guy I know. He had just received a large sum of money, very large. He is also quite vulnerable. If the right woman met him, she could extract a fortune from him. If he is so suitable, why don't you take on him yourself? She shook her head. It won't work, he knows me. But I can be a mediator, a link between the victim and the perpetrators. I need a vamp who can seduce him and lure him into a trap. Do you know someone who can do this? He looked away as if lost in thought. Maybe. So what do you say? Are you interested in this? I need to think. Understand. You have my number. Call me if you decide. But don't delay. I don't want anyone else to get ahead of me and take the victim away. Then she stood up and, without looking back, walked towards Columbus Circle. Sam waited until she was out of sight, then crossed the street and approached Emma, who was waiting for him. They moved to a park bench, and he recounted the conversation in detail. What do you think? He asked when he finished. I don't know, she answered. I have a lot of questions, but this sounds very similar to the scam we pulled off in Silicon Valley. If this guy is anything like what's his name, we could hit the big time again. Yes, I thought about that too. I think we should find out a little more. They stood up and walked leisurely back to Essex House. But when they entered the lobby, they were surprised that the redhead was already there waiting for them. What the hell? Sam breathed out. The woman nodded towards the hotel bar. Let's go talk there, it will be more private. Emma and Sam exchanged glances, but reluctantly followed the redhead towards the Southgate bar. When they sat down, Sam asked angrily, How did you know that we would be here? The woman grinned. After you stopped me that night, I followed you to this hotel. She shrugged. I wanted to make sure you weren't a cop. And today I saw her," she pointed at Emma, "come out of Essex House and settle down to watch you, so I realized that she was your partner." "What does all this mean? Why are you following us?" Now the redhead's face became serious. "There are several reasons. First of all, since you live here, you are not newbies. This hotel is not cheap. Secondly, after our short conversation, I realized that you already have a partner. I wanted to know whether she was a woman or not, and whether she was suitable for the job." She gave Emma an appraising look. "Honestly, you are just beautiful. I think you might be perfect for this job." Emma tried not to show her feelings, but her eyes widened slightly at the compliment. "And the last reason is what I told your partner at the fountain. If you are not interested, I urgently need to look for others. Someone else will quickly find my victim, and I don't want to lose her." Emma glanced briefly at Sam, then looked at the redhead. "Okay, you interested us. What do you have?" "The guy I'm talking about is my age. He had just moved to New York from Little Rock, where he owned a farm." "Wait," Sam interrupted. "Little Rock, as in Arkansas?" "Yes." "Farmer? Is this some kind of joke?" "Be patient. His parents owned the farm, but both died in an accident, and he inherited the entire farm. And this was not just a farm, they owned the largest chicken processing plant in the state. But Jethro Malone, that's his name, wanted nothing to do with this business, so he sold everything to Purdue for $42 million. And he didn't want to live in Little Rock anymore, so he moved to the big city and doesn't know anyone here. One more thing, he broke up with his girlfriend a month before his parents died. So the guy is now rich, lonely, and, most likely, starved for female attention. I bet some smart lady will pick him up very soon. But if we set up the right lady, we'll be the lucky ones." She leaned back in her chair. "Well, what do you say? Are you interested in this?" Emma spoke first. "Maybe, but I have a lot of questions. How do we meet this Jethro Malone? How will we beat all the other hunters for his fortune? What type of woman does he like? How do we ensure he falls in love with me? And these are just the first questions that come to mind." The redhead nodded confidently. "This is where I come in. Like I said, I know this guy, so I can introduce you. And when I say I know him very well. I was a friend of his ex, and she told me everything about him, his preferences, tastes, what turns him on, etc. You said that he broke up with his girlfriend. Maybe you don't know him as well as you think," Emma countered. The redhead shook her head impatiently. "He didn't break up with her, she left him. She broke his heart, he still suffers for her. He would be an easy target for a woman like her, except for the cheating part, of course." She took out several sheets of paper from the folder. "I have several photographs of her, and I wrote down her preferences and tastes. I did the same for Jethro. If you agree and we agree, it's all yours." Emma looked at her suspiciously. "Wait, if you were so close to this guy, why would you deceive him?" Several emotions flashed across the redhead's face before she returned to a calm expression and stared back. "His parents were real snobs. They believed that my family was not worthy of him. This is retribution for the way they treated me." Sam and Emma waited in silence until she continued with a heavy sigh. "And also because I was in love with him. I did everything to attract his attention, but he only saw me as a friend. I spent a lot of time and feelings on him and received nothing in return. In the end, I decided, if he doesn't give me his love, I'll take his money," she finished. Emma looked at her carefully for a few seconds, then nodded. "Okay, if you and I work together, what percentage do you want? I'm not particularly greedy. I understand that you will have expenses. 25% is enough for me." Sam whistled softly. "That's a lot for simple mediation, which is essentially what you're doing." "I am much more than just a mediator. I am your entry ticket, the gateway to this business. I am the one who can guide you on the path to success. Without me, you have nothing. I could have asked for half, but like I said, I'm not greedy." Sam sat silently for a long minute. Finally, he leaned back in his chair, and Emma followed suit. "Let us think about it until tomorrow. We will contact you no later than this time." "Agreed," she nodded, getting up to leave. By the way, my name is Sarah McMullen, she said, holding out her hand. Sam shook it first. I'm Sam, and this is Emma. Nice to meet you. I hope we can work together. After she left, Emma looked at Sam with a skeptical expression. I don't like it. All this seems somehow strange. And what's the deal with redheads? What are you talking about? Remember that prostitute you used to scam Seth, that gamer from San Jose? She was also red. Oh, come on, Emma, don't be jealous. You know how I feel about you. Look, let's get something to drink at the bar, go up to our room and talk about this scam. I still have many questions, but half of the $40 million will provide us with a comfortable life. We could have left the game forever with that kind of money. Yeah, just don't forget about 25% of your girlfriend. He looked at her slyly. What makes you think she'll get anything at all? She squeezed his hand. Well done, went. When the door to their room closed, Emma attacked him, and they had sex. Finally, Sam propped himself up on his elbow to look at his partner. I think we need to take on this new game. We burned through our money too quickly, and opportunities like this don't come around often. If we can get away with half of the 40 million, we'll be rocking. Emma opened her eyes and looked up at him. Okay, she sighed, but we need to keep this redhead under close surveillance. I don't trust her. Don't worry, he reassured her. I don't trust her either. Before they went to bed, Sam texted Sarah on the number she gave him. We're in business. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. for coffee at Essex House. Sam and Emma were already sipping their lattes when Sarah arrived the next morning. All three shook each other's hands carefully. So we'll really do this. And 25% is my share, right? She clarified. That's right, Sam answered her. Sarah sat up and looked at Emma carefully. You know, I think we will succeed. You're definitely his type. She opened the folder and handed Emma a color photograph. This is a photo of Jethro's ex-girlfriend. With the right hair color and cut, you could look just like her sister. This will definitely attract his attention. And if you really are as good as Sam says, then maybe you can keep his interest. Sam interrupted Emma, who was about to answer. Look, if she wants this guy, she'll have him wrapped around her little finger in a matter of days. Like I said, she's the best in the business. Sarah nodded. Well, I think we'll check it out soon. So how will all this work? It's simple. Emma will hook him so much that he won't even understand what happened to him. As soon as he falls in love with her and proposes, she will insist on a speedy wedding. After the honeymoon, we will sing to him, arrange a compromising situation with a woman of easy virtue, and Emma will come in at the most opportune moment. New York is a no-strings-attached divorce state, so after a quick divorce, we'll take half the fortune and walk away laughing. Sarah thought for a moment, staring into the distance. Yes, it could work. I know the poor guy is alone and vulnerable right now. If someone as hot as Emma takes him seriously, I think he'll give in. Then she looked sharply at Sam. What is your role in all this? The man grinned. I will be her brother in this production. As a future brother-in-law, I will become his friend and maybe even his confidant. And the fact that she has a family nearby makes her image less predatory. Yes, that's not bad. This is a good move. Sarah paused and took a deep breath. This actually works well for our first step. I'll introduce you to Jethro as my boyfriend. We can go to dinner, invite Jethro along, and I'll take you, she nodded at Emma, as his +1 for the evening. Everything will look natural and should run our game. Emma frowned when Sarah suggested that she and Sam would date, but relaxed when she realized that everyone would be together. Okay, she interrupted. Apparently, the first thing I need to do is go to a beauty salon to change my hair color and get my hair done. Sarah looked at Emma calmly. There is one more detail. You will need to rent a separate room. Seeing how Emma's eyes sparkled, Sarah hastily continued. It will be strange if brother and sister live in the same room. Jethro is quite old-fashioned. Emma rolled her eyes. She was still suspicious of the redhead and didn't approve of the idea of Sarah dating Sam, even if it was just for a scam. Therefore, her demand for separate rooms was even more annoying. Emma was about to say something, but Sam gave her a warning look, and she held back her answer. "Okay," she said. "Great," Sarah nodded, handing Emma the folder. "Here are the materials that I promised yesterday. Information about Jethro and his ex. You need to study it and figure out how to adapt it to your legend," Sarah said, handing the folder to Emma. "Yes, teacher," Emma said sarcastically. "Okay," Sam chimed in quickly, trying to ease the tension. "I think we have a plan. Everyone is ready for Operation Chicken Farmer." With these words, he extended his hand, and Emma placed hers on his. Sarah hesitated for a moment before joining in the gesture as well. 75% for you, 25 for me, right? Sarah clarified, again not missing the opportunity to confirm her share. "Absolutely," Sam confirmed with a smile, while Emma remained silent. Sarah placed her hand on top of theirs and added, "Great, then let's get to work." Then she got up and left, leaving Sam and Emma at the table. As soon as she left, Emma looked at Sam annoyed. "I don't like this little bitch calling the shots." Calm down," Sam tried to calm her down. "Just remember, you won't have to endure it for long, and when we disappear with the spoils intact, you will have the last word." Emma smiled. "Yes, you are right. This changes a lot." The next day, while Emma was busy getting her makeover at the beauty salon, Sam texted Sarah, "Can you meet me at Grand Army Plaza in 30 minutes? A few minutes later, his phone beeped, and he saw a thumbs-up emoji in response. She was waiting for him at the General Sherman statue, again wearing the leather leggings and jacket that Sam remembered from their first meeting. "Hi," she greeted casually as he approached her. "Emma's at the beauty salon right now, so I thought this would be a good time to see how you're doing," Sam began. She looked at him shrewdly. "Your partner doesn't love me." He shrugged. "Well, we usually work together, and she's usually the center of male attention. You know what I mean. She's not used to competition." Sarah raised her eyebrows. "So, are you and her a couple, married or something?" He shook his head. "We are partners in business. Well, with some privileges, I would say." The young woman nodded, then gave him a casual glance. "Have you ever worked with other partners?" "No, not yet." A smile flashed on Sarah's lips. "Interesting. Anyway, I have everything ready, so as soon as your business partner is ready, we can get started." He nodded. "Soon, very soon. We need to keep in touch, okay?" "It will be done," she said, and walked south and disappeared into the crowd outside the Plaza Hotel. Sam watched her go until she disappeared into the stream of people. On the night of the first contact, Sarah arrived early at Emma's room at Essex House for a final test of their plan. Walking into the room and seeing Emma, she whistled, "Damn girl, you look so much like Jethro's ex. I can't believe it. I think we will succeed." "See, I told you," Sam said. Emma grinned, her eyes twinkling mischievously, and spun sharply in place, as if checking how impressive her new look would look. The dress, in a large, bright print, emphasized her figure, moved with her, fluttering slightly with every movement. It was perfectly tailored. Its cut emphasized the curves of her waist and hips, and the deep, but not excessive cutout at the chest added a touch of seductiveness. This neckline was eye-catching, causing the gaze to linger for a moment, but at the same time remained within the bounds of elegance without crossing the boundaries of vulgarity. The dress seemed to play on the line between simplicity and sophistication, emphasizing her femininity without being too ostentatious. But the real transformation was her hair. When Sarah first met Emma, her blonde locks framed her face, giving her a softer, more innocent appearance. Now her hair has changed beyond recognition. Sleek locks of deep chestnut hue fell in soft waves over one shoulder, like a stream shimmering in the sun. This color added mystery to her image, making her gaze more expressive and her facial features sharper and clearer. Her hair touched her collarbone, like a thin line emphasizing her neck, giving the impression that Emma had not just changed her style, but had become a different woman, more confident, seductive, and mature. She ran her fingers through the soft curls, enjoying the new sensation, and took another look at her reflection in the mirror. As for Sarah, she hasn't changed her burgundy hair color. She wore a black jersey dress that covered her neck but hugged her athletic figure. Sam stood watching the two women with pleasure and relief. The last thing they needed was friction within the team. After a minute, he clapped his hands together to get their attention. "Okay, ladies, let's go over the plan one more time to make sure we're all on the same page. Emma, your legend. Your name is Ellen Ames. A year ago, you divorced your unfaithful husband. After the division of property, you live comfortably, but not richly. You just recently started dating again. My name is Martin Anderson. I am your brother. I'm an investment advisor in New York checking in on how my sister is doing after her divorce. Sarah is my girl, as they say. Sarah stays by her real name because Jethro knows her by that name. She works in Manhattan for one of the major recruiting agencies. You and she were roommates in college and recently rekindled your friendship. Sarah thinks you might be a good match for her hometown friend, Jethro Malone." One note, Sarah interrupted. Jethro likes to be called Jet. He thinks it sounds less provincial. Jet? Is this his idea of how to be elegant? Emma giggled. Whatever, Sarah snapped. But if you forget, it might turn him off. Emma rolled her eyes. I won't forget. Okay, ladies, we gotta get moving, Sam said. The trio took a taxi to the La Grenouille restaurant. When the head waiter showed them to the table, they saw that a young man, Sarah's age, was already sitting there. He quickly stood up when he saw them approach, hugged Sarah, and kissed her on the cheek. Jet, she said, this is my boyfriend, Martin Anderson, and his sister, Ellen Ames. Ellen, Martin, let me introduce you to my longtime friend, Jet Malone. After greetings were exchanged and everyone was seated, Sam examined their victim carefully. He was a fit man, slightly above average height, with light brown hair that had been recently cut, but not very skillfully. His suit was new, but not fashionable. You can take a man out of a village, but you can't take a village out of a man, Sam thought, holding back a grin. Once everyone was introduced and seated, Sam watched the interaction carefully. Jet seemed quite confident, especially next to Sarah, who skillfully led the conversation. She also included Ellen in the dialogue, which Sam was very pleased with. This girl is a real pro, he thought with approval. As the drinks arrived and everyone relaxed a bit, Sam noticed that Jet turned to Ellen and leaned forward, smiling and nodding in approval every time she spoke. By the end of dinner, Sam was sure that their scam was off to a good start. When he suggested leaving, he became even more confident about it. I hate to ruin the party, but I have an important meeting tomorrow morning, so I better take the ladies home, he said. Should you leave? Jet countered and then turned to Ellen. If you don't have anything urgent to do tomorrow, I'd like to get to know you better. I will be glad to accompany you to your hotel. Her brother looked at Ellen questioningly. Go, Martin, she told him. I like it here, and I'm sure Jet won't take advantage of the situation. Jet blushed, and the other two laughed. Okay, the brother agreed. He turned to Sarah. Are you ready to go? Yes, she nodded. I'm a working girl. It's time for me too. After shaking hands and blowing kisses with Jet and Ellen, Sam and Sarah left the restaurant, leaving the couple in an animated conversation. When they got outside, Sam stopped Sarah before she could hail a taxi. Let's walk a little, he suggested. She walked beside him as they headed north on 5th Avenue. Well, what do you think? She asked. He smiled. You never know for sure, but I think things are going well. Did you notice how focused he was on Ellen all evening? I'm pretty optimistic. Yes, I must admit, your partner is great. She played all the right strings, and in this dress. If I was into girls, I think I would have fallen in love with her too. He glanced at her from the side. I must say that you impressed me even more. You did a great job at dinner. I noticed how you kept Jet's attention on Ellen. But what impressed me most was how you saw the opportunity and made it happen. Many scammers can talk nicely, but not so many can piece together the whole scam. She smiled slightly shyly and then grabbed his hand and pulled him closer to her. I know sometimes I can be too harsh. I hope this doesn't put you off. He turned to face her. On the contrary, I find strong women very attractive. She looked at him for a few seconds and kissed him. She suddenly pulled away and took a deep breath. I shouldn't have done that, she apologized. I don't want to come between you and Emma. He put his hands on her waist and pulled her towards him. Emma doesn't own me. I choose my own path, he said in a hoarse voice, looking into her eyes. She nodded slightly, then stepped back again. I really have to go. But let me know when you are ready to meet again. She looked at him intently, with or without Emma. Then she stepped to the curb to hail a taxi. Sam watched her go until the yellow car drove away. He was pleased to notice that she was looking at him through the back window as the car disappeared from view. He then returned to the hotel and quietly entered Emma's room. A few hours later, he woke up from a light sleep when he heard the room door open. Well, did you sleep with him? He asked as soon as she entered. No, Emma answered with a smile. He's too old-fashioned for something like that on a first date. But he's a good kisser, and I think next time he won't have any doubts. Will it be like this next time? She stretched out next to him on the bed. I think I set the hook deep enough, she said happily. I know it was just a first date, but the way he told me his life story, it's clear that he's lonely and vulnerable. If I alternate between approaching and pulling away correctly, I think I can squeeze a proposal out of him in a couple of months. You're just the best, Sam smiled, looking at her new brown hair. Now come here, he growled and pulled her towards him. I want to sleep with a brunette. The next morning, Emma was awakened by the sound of her cell phone. After talking for a few minutes, she hurried into the bathroom just as Sam was getting out of the shower. Jet just called, she said excitedly. He wants to spend the day with Ellen on Saturday. We're going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and then a picnic in Central Park. How do you like this as a romance? Bravo, Sam answered. Great job. She winked at her partner. And after our petit déjeuner Sir El Herb, she said with a slight accent, I'll persuade him to show me his apartment. Guess which room will be the last stop. Very French, Sam grinned. Exactly. In general, don't expect me until Sunday at best. Great, he said. Just perfect. Later, while Emma was taking a shower, Sam sent a quick text to Sarah. Come to my room on Saturday night for a report. Sarah, apparently, was very determined because her answer came almost immediately. I will come. When Jet came to pick up Ellen on Saturday, she was wearing a flirty floral dress that hinted at outdoor activities. The underwear she wore under her dress hinted at pleasures of a completely different kind, and the small suitcase she took with her clearly demonstrated her intentions. Sam quietly watched her leave and then went out to just people watch. But I returned to the hotel early because I was too excited to enjoy the walk. He took a shower, changed clothes, and was wondering whether he should order something for his room. But he was too excited to think about food. While he was walking around the room, there was a quiet knock on the door, and, opening it, he was happy to see Sarah. I know I came early, she began hesitantly, but I finished my business early and... Seeing her standing in front of him, something clicked in Sam, and he grabbed the young woman and kissed her. A few minutes later, they were already having sex. When she opened her eyes again a few minutes later, he was looking at her intently. After a short pause, he reached out and touched her face. It was the most incredible thing I have ever experienced, he whispered. She nodded. I know, for me too. I think we need a little refreshment. You've completely exhausted me. She smiled flirtatiously. I hope not completely. They walked down 59th Street toward Columbus Circle and went into Maria's restaurant. Although they didn't have a reservation, a huge tip to the head waiter got them a quick seat. The Italian dishes on the menu looked tempting, but in the end, they decided to share a few appetizers with glasses of Vernaxia. While they were having a snack, Sam told Sarah about Emma's progress. Everything is going great, even better than I expected, he assured her. I've seen her do it before. Emma will play this guy like a Stradivarius violin. He won't even understand what happened. After eating, they strolled east to the fountain at the plaza before returning to Essex House. When Sam closed the door to his room, she took his hand. "Do you think you can do it again?" "Without a doubt," he replied. When they finally finished, Sarah began to get out of bed. "I have to go, you know. Suddenly Emma will return." He quickly grabbed her hand. "No, you don't have to leave. If she's not there yet, I can guarantee she'll be staying at Jet's for the night. Stay, if you want, of course." She looked at him with a timid smile. "More than anything in the world," she whispered and lay down next to him again, resting her head on his shoulder. A few minutes later, they were already asleep. They woke up early in the morning, and, to the sound of passing garbage trucks, they had sex again. When they finished, Sarah took a quick shower and began to hurriedly get dressed. "We really can't let Emma see us together and get jealous. We need to keep the team working." "I'm glad you understand," he nodded gratefully. "Now everything depends on her success." He pulled the redhead closer to him. "But don't take my actions with you around her the wrong way. This weekend was special for me, and we will definitely do it again when it is safe to do so." "I really want this," she whispered and kissed him for the last time. She then tried to leave, but he grabbed her arms. "Sarah, there is something else I wanted to tell you. We talked about you getting 25%, but now I think you deserve 50%. I don't know how to pull this off yet, but I wanted you to know how I feel about you." "Oh, Sam," she said, and her hug became even tighter, followed by a kiss. "Now I really have to go. I'm sure it will take the maids a lot of time to change all the sheets and clean here." She smiled. Then she walked out, leaving only the faint scent of her perfume in the air. As it turned out, their caution was unnecessary. Emma returned to the hotel only after lunch. She called Sam when she returned, and he rushed to her room. When he entered, she was sitting lounging on the sofa. "Emma," he asked with a tinge of anxiety in his voice, "how did it go?" Her face broke into a happy smile. "It couldn't have gone better, even if I had written the script myself. By the time I left, he was crazy about me. He literally begged me not to leave." Sam clenched his fist in delight. "I knew you could do it. So, he's on your hook now, right?" "Oh yes," she assured him. "To be honest, I'll even have to slow it down a little. But I think that after a very short romance, Ellen can expect a proposal and a quick wedding." "You are simply brilliant," he said. "Summer in New York can be unbearably hot, when the hot asphalt seems to melt under your feet and the air stands like a heavy wall, making it impossible to breathe deeply. But this summer was surprisingly mild, as if nature decided to take a break from its usual hot rhythm. A warm breeze pleasantly cooled the streets, and the sun, instead of beating down mercilessly, gently warmed us. All this created the perfect atmosphere for Emma and Jet, as if the weather itself decided to contribute to their budding feelings. Every day was filled with serene walks around the city, leisurely conversations, and new discoveries about each other. Their relationship seemed to blossom amid it all, like the clematis that lined the walls of the conservatory in Central Park, delicately blooming their bright flowers under the warm sky. The time they spent together seemed filled with special magic. They weren't just close, they gradually became closer, like two halves of one whole. Jethro, usually so serious and collected, next to Emma acquired a lightness and spontaneity that was unusual for him. Emma, on the other hand, felt more confident, as if with Jet she could be herself, without hiding her thoughts or emotions. But despite this harmony, Emma had doubts in her heart that did not leave her. She tried not to show her worries to Jet, but she couldn't shake the tense feeling when Sam and Sarah were nearby. The two behaved impeccably. Their conversations were polite, sometimes even too polite, as if they were trying to keep themselves under strict control. At first glance, they looked like a completely ordinary couple, without any visible reasons for suspicion, but Emma's intuition did not allow her to relax. She couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in their behavior, the fleeting glances, sometimes too long pauses in conversation, the slight tension that hovered between them. When the four of them got together for an event, Emma felt her anxiety growing. Outwardly, everything looked fine, but her inner voice haunted her. She carefully watched every movement of Sam and Sarah, analyzed their gestures and intonations, trying to catch at least some hint of the cause of her anxiety. And although she had no direct evidence, Emma could not shake the feeling that something was going wrong between them. One afternoon, Sam was in his room when there was a loud knock on the door. Opening it, he saw Emma burst into the room in a rage. "Is Sarah here, Stephen?" she demanded. He glanced quickly down either side of the hallway, then closed the door and turned to Emma, his face contorted with anger. "You know that we never use real names during a scam. My name is Sam, yours is Emma, or Ellen when Jet is around, understand? What if Sarah had heard you?" "So you admit she's here," Emma roared. "No, she's not here," he squeezed out with annoyance. "But we always support our legends, no exceptions. If she's not here, what were you doing then?" the angry woman demanded. He sighed heavily and gestured towards the flat-screen TV. "If you're really interested, I was watching baseball." As if to confirm his words, a joyful hum came from the speakers after the Yankees player sent the ball for a long home run. Emma relaxed a little, but was still seething with anger. "I don't trust that redhead. I saw how she makes eyes at you, and I won't stand for it." He walked up to her and hugged her. "First of all, it all just seems to you. Secondly, Sarah was a godsend for us. We would never have come across Jethro without her. And thirdly, you know that I will never cheat on you." She hugged him back and leaned up to kiss him. Then she pulled back and looked into his eyes. "You know if I ever catch you cheating, I will strip you of your manhood," she said sweetly. He grinned. "I didn't expect anything else," he replied. "Do you think we have time for?" She pulled away. "No, Jet is waiting for me, and I need to be fresh for him," she said with a smile. She headed towards the door, and Sam followed. "Don't forget what I said," she warned. "I promise to be a good boy," he said, holding up 2 fingers like a Boy Scout. She snorted contemptuously and went to the elevators. Sam watched her go, then closed the door and returned to the bedroom of his room. Sarah emerged from the bathroom wearing only high heels and a thong. "It was close," she exclaimed, approaching him. He shook his head. "This woman is so possessive. She's good at what she does, but she's starting to get on my nerves." Sarah tilted her head and looked at him with a mischievous look. "Speaking of nerves, I accumulated a lot of nervous tension while hiding in the shower. Do you think you can help me take it off?" He grinned. "I think I can handle this." There were no more close calls for Sam and Sarah, and things were going well with Ellen and Jethro. The 4th of July passed and everything was going well. So Sarah and Sam were surprised by a message from Emma shortly after. "Urgent, meet me in my room in an hour." Sarah gave Sam a questioning look, but he just shrugged and went to the sidewalk to hail a taxi. When they arrived at Essex House, Emma was already waiting for them. Seeing their worried faces, she remained silent until they focused their attention on her. "Something important has happened," she said solemnly. They looked at each other with concern, then turned back to their partner. She took a deep breath and extended her left hand, exclaiming joyfully. "I did it," he proposed. They both rushed over to admire the massive diamond engagement ring she was now wearing. The 3 then hugged tightly. Sarah spoke first. "I really admire you, Emma. Honestly, after the terrible breakup Jethro went through, I thought you'd have a hard time getting past his defenses. And if you succeeded, I was sure that it would take much longer. You're a master con artist, and here's proof of it," she exclaimed, raising Emma's left hand high. Emma beamed at the praise, and Sam quickly added his words of approval. When the noise died down, Emma broke some more news. "That was good news, but here's even better. Jet doesn't want long engagements. He wants to get married in September. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the finish line. This is really a reason to celebrate." Sam rejoiced and quickly called room service to send a bottle of champagne. As they sipped from their glasses, Emma shared the details. "It's a bit of a pity that he doesn't want a big celebration. I would like the wedding to be big. But he is an only child, and after the death of his parents, he has virtually no family left to invite. It seems that most of the relatives are not happy that he sold the family business. Anyway, Jet said he would be happy if it was just the two of you as witnesses at the wedding. But he wants a religious ceremony, and how's that for convenience? He's already booked the Petit Salon here at Essex House as a wedding venue. The prospect of their long scam drawing to a close had the trio ready to party all night long, but Emma quickly cooled their spirits. I told Jet I couldn't wait to tell you two in person, and that's why he let me leave for a while. But now I need to get back to him to celebrate our engagement, if you know what I mean, she added with a wink. Her departure in a taxi a few minutes later gave Sam and Sarah the opportunity to have their own passionate party once their partner had left. The trio were in such high spirits that the message Sarah and Sam received the next day came as a real shock to them. Catastrophe! I need to meet at Sam's room as soon as I can get there. Two puzzled faces greeted Emma when she burst into the room 30 minutes later. Before they could ask a single question, she blurted out, "We're in complete trouble. What the hell happened?" Sam demanded. "That's it," Emma barked and threw the folded stack of papers onto the bed. Sam quickly grabbed them and began looking through them. "Let me save you time," Emma said gloomily. "This is a marriage contract. In the event of a divorce, we are both left with what we came into marriage with, nothing more." "Damn," Sarah exclaimed. "This means that your scheme with treason and a woman of easy virtue will not work." Sam was still reading. "I don't know Jet as well as you do, Emma, but it doesn't seem like something he could do. It's so unfair to you." The future bride shook her head. "Oh, he took care of me. I will receive $100,000 for each year of marriage, and in 10 years it will grow to $250,000. But we have to wait many years to even begin to receive these crumbs, and this is a far cry from the half 42 million we were counting on." Sam shook his head in confusion. "And this remains in force even if he cheats on you. Look at the second page. The agreement comes into force regardless of the reason for the divorce." "I agree with Sam," Sarah intervened. "This doesn't look like a Jet." Emma shook her head in disgust. "In fact, it's not him. Jet admitted that it was his financial advisor who suggested it. This guy told Jet that people with his income needed protection, as if I were some kind of hunter for his fortune." Sarah raised an eyebrow and looked at Sam, but decided now was not the time to comment. Emma didn't stop. "Do you want to hear the worst? It turns out that his fortune is not 42 million, it's almost 60 million. He gave me a copy of his latest bank statement to show why he needed protection." Sam grabbed the paper and Sarah walked over to look over his shoulder. "I can't believe it. So much money, and now we can't get to it." Sarah sat down in a chair and thought while the other two continued to curse their bad luck. After a minute, she stood up, whistled to get attention, and stopped Emma and Sam. "I have an idea," she said decisively. "If Emma signs a prenuptial agreement, the scheme with a woman of easy virtue will not work." "That's exactly what I was just saying," Emma snapped. Sarah ignored her. "And Jet wants this prenuptial agreement because he needs certainty. So let's give him that confidence and let Emma sign." "But," Sam started, but Sarah pointed at Emma. "What if you tell Jet that you'll sign a prenuptial agreement if he transfers the Goldman Sachs account to both of you? Once he does that, you just transfer the money to an offshore account, and we're all gone. In fact, this is even better than the original plan. We will get all the money, not half." Sam couldn't contain his indignation. Why would Jet even give her access to his money? He is already trying to protect his assets. Why on earth would he refuse this? "Because we will give him proof of its reliability. First, she will sign a prenuptial agreement to show that she believes in their future marriage. She will then give him all her funds and ask him to combine them with his because she loves him and trusts him completely. All she will ask in return is that the account be in the name of Mr. and Mrs. Jethro Malone. Obviously, she doesn't have an equivalent amount, but if she gives Jet all her assets, then he should give her access to his. Fair." Emma and Sam looked at each other uncertainty. "Think about it," Sarah continued. Emma returns to Jet with a signed prenuptial agreement. "See," she tells him, That's how much I love you." She then hands him the check and says, "This is how much I trust you." This will blow his mind. "I don't know," Emma began, but Sam became thoughtful. A gesture of goodwill. "And of course, you'll need access to the account after the wedding, in case something happens to Jet. He is asking you to make a commitment. He must be ready for a commitment too." "Exactly," Sarah confirmed triumphantly. "So how much could you raise?" "This should be a substantial enough sum to show Jet that his fiancée is completely devoted to him." "We can probably raise a couple 100,000, Sam suggested, and Emma gasped. "This is all our money, Sam. You won't lose them," Sarah intervened. "It's an investment, a gesture of faith to sell our idea. And remember, you won't do anything if your name isn't on the account. But Jet has to trust that you're giving it everything you've got, otherwise it won't matter." Emma doubted. 250,000 is nothing compared to 60 million. Sarah shook her head. "No, it's not like that. It's 100% of what you put into marriage. If he accepts this, he will have to contribute 100% of his assets too." She looked at them both and noticed their hesitation. "Think about it. The prenuptial agreement means that the original scam has failed and all the money and time we spent in the spring and summer is gone. But if we go this route, we're still in the game, and now we have a chance to walk away with $60 million. I say, let's take a risk." Sam and Emma looked at each other again. "You've already got this guy on your hook, Emma," Sam said thoughtfully. "He probably feels guilty for putting this prenuptial agreement on you. If you come to him with a signed contract, he will be so happy that his knees will weaken. And when you add a check for all your assets, he will feel obligated to do something to show his trust in you. You can convince him." Slowly, a smile appeared on Emma's face. "You know, I can really sell this, I really can." "This will shock him," Sarah encouraged her. She winked. "And we won't have to look for a woman of easy virtue or start a long divorce. Once you sign, you'll transfer the money to an offshore account that Sam will open and will disappear. We can do this already on the wedding day, and once everything is ready, we will have more money than we can spend in a lifetime." The next day, Sam and Sarah received the message they had been waiting for. Emma called them from the toilet, whispering into the phone. "Everything worked out exactly as we planned. When I gave him the signed marriage contract, he was so happy that he didn't feel like himself. He was scared to death that this would be the end of everything. And when I handed him a check for my assets to combine them with his, he was shocked. He did not expect such a gesture from me and almost burst into tears from my expression of trust. While I was with him, he called Goldman Sachs and asked them to change the account name to Mr. and Mrs. Malone. That means as soon as the wedding is over, I have access and we're in business." The joy which Jethro expressed to his Ellen could in no way compare with the emotions of the three conspirators, as Sam remarked when they toasted again. "That's why scams cause such adrenaline. You make all your plans, do everything necessary, and play your role perfectly. But in the end, it all comes down to that very moment when the victim either swallows the bait or leaves. And until that happens, you can't be sure." The next few weeks became a strange mix of drawn-out and fast-paced moments for the trio. Sometimes time seemed to freeze in place, each day dragged on endlessly, as if the clock decided to torment them with its slowness. At such moments, the anticipation of the wedding day became truly unbearable. Tension was in the air. Every morning they woke up with the anxious thought that something would go wrong, that some unexpected turn would disrupt their plans. Every little thing could cause anxiety, be it an unexpected message, a strange dream, or bad weather outside the window. And sometimes days, on the contrary, flew by like a gust of wind, capturing them in a whirlwind of urgent matters and worries. The bustle around preparation absorbed them, and they hardly noticed how the hours and days disappeared. In this series of events, time seemed to blur, erasing the boundaries between the beginning and end of the week. Although each of them was excited about the upcoming event, only one of the trio really got into the organizational details: Jethro. His energy and meticulousness seemed to double, and he threw himself into the preparations, as if the very process of creating the perfect ceremony could calm his inner tension. He thought through everything thoroughly, from the choice of flowers for decoration to the music that would be played during the ceremony. Even with a limited number of guests, he was determined to make the event special and unforgettable. Jethro enthusiastically set about organizing the celebration. To do this, he hired a designer to turn the room into a cozy and formal place filled with warmth and light. Inspired by the idea, Jethro spent hours discussing the details: what fabric to use for draperies, what colors to choose in the design, what the arch should be like for the newlyweds. All this became for him something like a personal project that absorbed him completely. But not only appearance was important to him. Jethro understood that the ceremony is not just a form, but a content, and therefore he approached the question of who would perform the ceremony with particular trepidation. He managed to negotiate with an old acquaintance, a priest from his native church, and organize his arrival for the wedding. This man was not just a spiritual mentor for Jethro, but also a symbol of the connecting thread between the past and the future. The others were only amused to watch Jet's zeal, but did not express their feelings. They were already making plans for where they would go and how they would spend the fruits of their efforts. On the eve of the wedding, Sam gathered the trio for a late meeting in his room. "I want to discuss everything again," he told the two women. "I opened a new account with CH.2 First Caribbean International Bank in the Cayman Islands. Count for 3, all of us. Emma, as soon as you become Mrs. Jethro Malone, you will need to sneak out of the banquet and go up to my room. I'll have my computer ready for you to log in and transfer money from his Goldman Sachs account to our offshore account. Then you leave, take a taxi to JFK, and catch the flight I booked to Cayman." He nodded at Sarah. "At some point, Jet will start to worry about his new wife and go to your room. When this happens, you and I will leave separately for the airport. As soon as we are all in the Caymans, let's go to First Caribbean Bank, meet and split the money." He paused effectively, "and live happily ever after." All three raised their glasses to this pleasant thought. "One more thing," Sam added as they drained their glasses of champagne. "At the wedding and banquet tomorrow, don't forget that my name is Martin Anderson and Emma's is Ellen Ames. Whatever happens, don't call anyone by the wrong name or make Jet suspicious." The next day, Jethro was as nervous as any groom, constantly checking and double-checking everything, going over details with the florist, calling the caterer, and generally being quite annoying to everyone. As the time for the ceremony approached, he made a special request to Sarah. "Can you please make sure Ellen stays in her room until the ceremony starts? I'm not usually superstitious, but I've always heard that it's bad luck to see a bride in her wedding dress before the ceremony. Everything in our relationship has worked out so well that I don't want to risk ruining it right now." Sarah promised and took the elevator upstairs to convey Jet's request to his fiancée. Jet then found Martin, who was his best man, and took him to Preacher Row. Martin gave the priest a strange look, holding out his hand. "Have we met before, Pastor?" The Holy Father smiled and thought for a moment. "I think not. Have you been to Little Rock?" When Martin shook his head, the preacher smiled broadly. "Then you need to get out to us sometime and attend one of our services." "I'll try," Martin replied, mentally promising himself that this would never happen. As Martin started to leave, Jethro grabbed his arm to pull him aside. "Do I look okay? Is everything ready in the salon? You have a ring, right?" Martin smiled calmly. "You look great, Jet. The interior looks great, and yes, I have a ring." His fingers felt in his vest pocket, but there was no ring. He quickly checked his other pockets to no avail. "I guess I left it in my room. I'll run and get it." "I'll go with you and help you look," Jethro said with concern. "We need to find him." They exited the elevator on Martin's floor and headed toward his room. Suddenly, Martin put out his hand to block Jet's path. "The door to my room is open," he hissed. "It's probably the maid," Jet suggested, but Martin waved him off. "No cart. Something's wrong." Both moved forward cautiously. Martin pushed the door a little harder and cautiously looked into the room, but saw no one. He then looked down and noticed a Beretta pistol with a silencer on the floor. The air smelled of gunpowder. Martin grabbed the gun and entered the room, Jethro right behind him. He sharply opened the closet door on the left, but there was no one there. Then his gaze fell on the light from the computer screen on the table. "I didn't leave it on," he muttered and hurried to check. When he saw the Goldman Sachs logo on the web page, he did a double take. "Hey, Jet, it's your bill," he exclaimed. He looked closer. "And it's empty, the account has 0. "Oh God," Jethro gasped, and hearing the strange intonation in his voice, Martin turned around sharply to understand what had happened. But Jet did not look in his direction. He pointed towards the bathroom. "Oh God," Jethro repeated again, and Martin looked into the bathroom. There was Sarah's body. Martin stood stunned, unable to utter a word. "She's dead," he whispered. "She was killed." Martin stood in shock, unable to utter a word. The shocked groom slowly walked out of the bathroom, then took a confused step toward his best man. "What did you say about my account?" Martin shook his head, trying to clear it of the thick fog. "Your account is empty. Someone got into my computer, accessed your account, and cashed it out." Jethro staggered. "What? But—" Both men jumped when Jet's cell phone rang. He quickly pulled it out of his pocket. "Oh, Pastor Rowe, listen, I need—" "What? Why did she do this? I don't understand." "Okay, we'll be there now." He put the phone in his pocket and looked at Martin with a stunned expression. "I can't believe it. What's happening? What did the preacher want?" the best man asked him. Jethro shook his head in disbelief. "He said that Ellen had just left the hotel. He said she asked the concierge to call a taxi to JFK. When a taxi arrived, she got into it and drove away, as if scalded. This treacherous bitch," Martin swore. "Hey, this is your sister and my fiancée," Jethro snapped. But then his face became thoughtful. "But we have more important things to do. Sarah was killed. We need to call the police." "Damn it! Damn, damn, damn," Martin swore. Suddenly, he stared at Jethro. "When the police arrive, you must tell them that I have been with you all day." "I couldn't do it." "Certainly. But I don't understand, where are you going?" The man awkwardly stuffed the Beretta into his jacket pocket. "I need to get to the airport before Cassandra leaves." "This bitch took my money." "Cassandra? Who else is Cassandra? What money?" "It doesn't matter," Martin barked, and, pushing past Jethro, rushed towards the elevators. Jethro ran after him, but the elevators seemed to be already on the floor, because the doors closed and he saw the car begin to descend. In a panic, he pressed the down button, but it was all in vain. Then, in desperation, he found a ladder and began to quickly descend the steps. When he reached the lobby, he saw no sign of Martin. The only familiar figure he noticed was Preacher Rowe, who was looking towards the exit. When Jethro ran up to him, the pastor put his arm around his shoulders, trying to comfort him. "Where is Ellen?" asked the groom. "She left." "And Martin? Where is he?" "Sorry, Jethro, he left too." The groom slowly knelt down. "It's over. I can't believe it, it's over." To be continued. Subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so you don't miss the next part of this story. She will be there very soon. The link to the sequel will be in the description of this video below. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.